accompanied him, and they went to a journey and met Khider alayhi salatu wasalam. So we discussed some points and some very important lessons that we learned from the story. We talked about that last week. Now this week here, obviously the answers, there's three things that we'll be discussing. The first thing is, why did Khider do what he did? And the second thing is, who is Khider? Is he a prophet or is he a wali, a friend of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Obviously, if you're a prophet, you're still a friend of Allah. But is he just a friend of Allah or is he also a prophet? And the second question is Khider alive or not? So these are the three questions that normally come to people's mind, and we will try covering this in today's topic. Now the first question, now just to understand the answer, we need to go back to the question. So briefly, we learned three incidents. The first incident was where Moosa alayhi salatu wasalam, the first incident that he encountered with Khider was that they embarked on a ship, and as soon as فَانْطَلَقَ حَتَّى إِذَا رُكِبَ فِي السَّفِينَةِ قَالَ أَخَرَقْتَهَا لِتُغْرِقَ أَهْلَهَا. As soon as they embarked upon a ship, he started making a mess of the ship, breaking it and making it defective. So Moosa ﷺ was disturbed that how can you do something like that? How can you damage someone else's property? It does not behold you, it does not befit you to do something like that. So he questioned Khider, and Khider's condition was that you don't question me. So then they carried on. The second incident was, does anyone remember the second incident? What is it? He killed a child. So he goes and they find all the young children playing. There are young children playing on the street, and he grabs one of them. Well, he knew which one too, and he takes hold of him, and he takes his life. Obviously, this was even disturbing. So Moosa ﷺ could not tolerate. So he immediately asked and said that he questioned Khider. Again, he was not supposed to question. And the third incident, you can walk me through maybe. What's the third incident that happened? The wall. So the wall, alhamdulillah, it's nice to hear that you still remember the story. So the wall. What happened was, very poor hospitality, very hostile environment. They go there, a wall is leaning down, and Khider decides to do a favor. The first two incidents he didn't do a favor, but in the second case, in the third case, he's doing a favor. Musa is surprised, shocked. Why are you doing this favor when they were not doing favor to us? At least you could have charged them so that we can get some food. Anyways, these were the three questions that came to Musa alayhi salatu wasalam. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, when he narrated this hadith, which is in Sahih Bukhari, he says that only if Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, if he had remained quiet or didn't question too much, perhaps we could have learned much more than what we have learned in the Quran. Nevertheless, this was a tafsir of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, Khider says, أَمَّا السَّفِينَةُ. So he mentions all three incidents, and he says, one by one, he's explaining that these were the three incidents, and there was a reason behind why he did this. So the first one, he said, أَمَّا السَّفِينَةُ. As far as the ship is concerned, there was a reason why he had to make it defective. So أَمَّا السَّفِينَةُ, as far as the ship is concerned, it belonged فَكَانَتْ لِلْمَسَاكِينَ. It belonged to the poor people. Ulama, they mentioned there's a difference between masakin and fuqara. Scholars say, is there any difference between fuqara and masakin, faqir and miskin? Well, according to this ayah here, it seems that a miskin is a person who is poor, but he still has some money, as opposed to faqir who doesn't have anything. But then, this from the ayah of Surah Al-Bayyinah, it can be the other way around too. Faqir has something and miskin doesn't have it. Nevertheless, so they were poor people, and if they went further, then they would have encountered a king, a cabinet ruler, and his job was to snatch and grab and steal any good-looking ship. So he wanted to make it defective, so they're able to keep the ship. So there was a reason behind he doing this, even though it did not make sense, but there was a reason behind what he did, behind his action. So he did this because behind, in the journey ahead, there was a person who used to steal people's ships and keep them. So they would have lost their ship if it was in a good condition. Therefore, he wanted to make it defective so that problem does not occur. So that's the first reason. The second reason, the second incident. وَأَمَّا الْغُلَامُ. As far as the ghulam is concerned, what happened? He took a life
innocent child, he's walking, he's playing with the children, and all of a sudden you're taking his life. So what's the reason behind this? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions, or Khider alayhi salatu wasalam is explaining to Moosa alayhi salatu wasalam, أَمَّا الْغُلَامُ فَكَانَ أَبَوَاهُ مُؤْمِنَيْنِ. As far as the son is concerned, or the child is concerned, his father or his parents, أَبَوَاهُ, his parents were believers. They were Muslims, they were believers. They had firm faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. فَخَشِينَا, so we feared that tughyan, rebellious attitude, and kufr could overtake them. In other words, our fear was that by nature this child who was growing up, this child, in him there was some kufr, or there was some kind of attitude of kufr, and there was some attitude of disbelieving, being ungrateful. So this is the type of attitude this child had. Hence, this child, if he grew up, then there was a problem that when he grows up, he will force أَيُّرْهِقَهُمَا طُغْيَانًا وَكُفْرًا. He will force his parents towards kufr and disbelief, and the result would be his parents who were pious and had firm faith in Allah, they would be tested and they would be tried into kufr. So for this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted to protect them. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did this. Now after that, now obviously this is the explanation of Quran. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions, فَأَرَدْنَا أَن يُبْدِلَهُمَا رَبُّهُمَا خَيْرًا مِنْهُ زَكَاةً وَأَقْرَبَ رُحْمًا. So we intended that their Lord should change him for them for one better in righteousness and near to mercy. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decided from his wisdom and mercy, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, I will take one son, but in replace of this, I will bless you with a child who will be what? Zakatan. He will be more pious. He will be more righteous. He'll be more pure, more clean in terms of sins, not committing any sins. And along with that, أَقْرَبُ رُحْمًا, and he will be more compassionate. He will have more affection and love for his parents, and he'll be more closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala basically replaced. Now this is the interesting part that we need to learn. The first thing is, there's a question that may come up in our minds. And this is a typical question that comes to our mind. That if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if He knew that this was going to happen, that the child will grow up, and as a result, if he grows up, he will force his parents to disbelieve, etc. This was in the knowledge of Allah. And knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is obviously the most accurate. So why didn't it happen according to what Allah's knowledge was? Why didn't it happen according to the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Why was there a change in knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Obviously the answer is very simple, but sometimes we tend to ask questions like that. So the answer to this is that it was conditional. It was conditional. Certain things are conditional. Let's understand that. لا يرد القضاء إلا الدعاء. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentions in some narrations that is mentioned that nothing can turn away qada, the decree, the destiny, whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has decided for us. Nothing can turn that away except dua. Now, obviously, it doesn't mean that if I make dua and if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has decreed something, it will not happen. What it means is that certain things are subject to and they're conditioned to du'as. So for example, let's take a simple example, failing on a test. You're writing a test, you're writing an exam in university, and you make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this is something very important. Generally, when you and me, when we are in need, we forget Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We only remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. First of all, the first thing that we turn to are all the means that we have. And then we cannot satisfy with that, then we turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The first thing we should be doing is turning to Allah, then adopting to means. So even before preparing for your exams, what do? You turn to Allah, you make dua. For every single thing we make dua to Allah first, and ask Allah's assistance first, and then after, we adopt the means. Nevertheless, so certain things, for example, failing in a test. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it was decreed that Abdullah, he will fail. Except that if he makes dua to me, then I will change the condition for better, meaning he will pass his test. You don't know this. So qada, there's two types of qada. Mubnam, which is to happen. Which is completely decreed, it's to happen. Without any shadow of doubt, whether you make dua, you don't make dua, it will happen. Mu'allaq, conditional. Something that if you make dua, then it may not happen, and if you don't make dua, it will happen. Or vice versa. So we don't know. This is the system of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is our job that we continue making dua to Allah, regardless whether something will happen or not, but we should continue making dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we should always have high hope that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will accept our duas. So obviously, like that, in this case here too, that if the child had grown up, then he would have forced the parents to become disbelievers. But that condition never came, and the child was taken away before that. So obviously the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will always remain the same. And obviously there is absolutely no doubt in the system and the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whether we understand or not. One very important question that comes to our mind, Ibn Abi Shayba rahmatullahi alayhi, Moosa ibn Abi Shayba, I'm sure this is a very famous hadith kitab, Mustadrak.
Is a Nissan Altima car is somebody is blocked, can you please move the car AZXN 357? Nissan Altima. Can you please remove your car?
Now, there's a very important lesson for all the parents here. The first lesson is, all Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took one child away. But in return of that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that we will replace it. So it was a matter of replacement. It was not just that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took away, Allah ta'ala took one life away, but in replace of that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed the family with what? A child who was more pious and more righteous. It is mentioned in Muslim ibn Abi Shayba and other books, in hadith books, that child who grew up, through him, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed that family, or through that child, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed a prophet, or two prophets. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them a big ummah who they were leading. So look at this here. We didn't know this. Only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us. It's the matter of being patient. Imam Qurtubi rahmatullahi alayhi, he brings something very interesting. And for all of us, every one of us, especially for the parents, a very important lesson. Imam Qurtubi rahmatullahi alayhi mentions, وَيُسْتَفَادُ مِنْ هَذِهِ الْآيَةِ تَهْوِيلُ الْمَصَائِبِ فَقْدِ الْأَوْلَادِ وَإِنْ كَانُوا قِطْعًا مِنَ الْأَكْبَادِ. Imam Qurtubi rahmatullahi mentions, we learn a very big lesson from this ayat here. And that is that تَهْوِيلُ الْمَصَائِبِ, our difficulties should become less. Our burdens and difficulties should become less by looking at the story here. What happens? بِفَقْدِ الْأَوْلَادِ, by taking away a child. Generally you can tolerate anything, but your loved one, your child who was only 2 years old, 3 years old, 5 years old, 10 years old, you know how much compassion and love you have? Even if your child is 80 years old, you still love your child. Your child is your child, and you will still remain a child for, all your life. So, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala here, such an important lesson, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is taking your child away. And by taking the child away, I know, وَإِن كَانُوا قِطْعًا مِنَ الْأَكْبَارِ, even though he is a piece of your heart, but despite that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took the child away. At that moment, obviously the parents were not happy. He mentioned, قال قتادة لقد فرح به أبواه حين ولد. Abu Qatada rahmatullahi alayhi mentions that when they were given the child, the parents, they were very happy. Because obviously a child in their family, they were very happy. وَحَزِنَا عَلَيْهِ حِينَ قُتِلَ. But when the child, his life was taken away, they were in sorrow and grief, and they were saddened. وَلَوْ بَقِيَ, but they didn't know. وَلَوْ بَقِيَ كَانَ فِيهِ هَلَاكُهُمَا. But if that child was to remain in his remaining life, alive, was the destruction of their parents. But they didn't know that. So at that moment, for the parents, it was the most difficult time. It was such a difficult time which they cannot bear and they cannot tolerate. And this is exactly what we need to learn. Many times, we don't know the system of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We don't know the system of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it's possible that, 2 years old child, all of a sudden he meets with an accident and he dies. And you may be thinking, the mother may be thinking, what happened? I lost a piece of my heart. I cannot come back to my sanity. I cannot think properly. But the little that we realize, that there should be good in it. There should be khair in it, that we don't know. These parents at that moment didn't know what khair there was. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was doing something better for them by taking that child away and replacing that child with a better child. The parents didn't know at that moment. Likewise, my brothers, We should have husnul dhann with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We should be having good thoughts with Allah, good feelings with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Never become despondent, never lose hope. Always have good hopes in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Any difficulty, even losing a child, divorce, whatever happens, everything happens for good. Even though we may not understand it, but there's always some wisdom behind it. It's a system of Allah which we are not able to comprehend and understand. Obviously, our knowledge is so minute, so little compared to the knowledge of Allah and compared to the system of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we will never be able to understand this. But this was a system of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So فَالْوَاجِبُ, then he mentions, Imam Qurtubi rahmatullah, he mentions, فَالْوَاجِبُ عَلَى كُلِّ امْرِئٍ الرِّضَى بِقَضَاءِ اللَّهِ تَعَالَى. It is incumbent, it is necessary upon every single person to be satisfied, to be content with the decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is very unfortunate. Many times we face difficulty and hardship, that's it. We're despondent. You were looking for a job, you didn't get a job. 10 interviews, you're not getting a job. That's it. Why does Allah gonna treat me like this? Why can he get a job? He doesn't pray salat and I pray salat and I'm not getting a job. Why is Allah Ta'ala doing this to me? This has become our attitude. This is how we think with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. My brothers, my beloved youngsters, this is absolutely wrong. Some worldly things which is so insignificant in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, yet we give so much attention to it. The moment we don't get that, automatically we go into depression. I know as I'm sitting here on the chair, I can tell you with full conviction that there are so many children. I am talking about bright children who had a bright future. And they could have done so much, and they could have accomplished so much, but just because of hubbul dunya, the extreme love of dunya, hubbul jah, attaining that recognition in the society, and getting that, attaining that, the position they wanted, and they were not able to get that because it's subject to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They didn't get that, and as a result of that, they went down, down, down. I cannot mention to you, I don't think you know that individual, but I know him very well. As such a brilliant person, I could have never thought of one yesterday. Just 2 minutes ago he called me. Or not 2 minutes ago, maybe half an hour ago he called me. And I could have never imagined that, brilliant people who, I don't want to go details because you will find out, but just understand what I mean by brilliant. You're working in top class, jobs like Google's and those, but I'm not saying Google, but there's another place like that. So don't get yourself confused when I'm trying to talk about. Nevertheless, taking sleeping pills to go to sleep, such a tender age, 20 years old, 25 years old, you're taking sleeping pills? What kind of depression? You're a young mind, bright mind, you can do so much. But why is it that we go into depression? Simply because we don't understand the system of Allah. If you have firm faith in the system of Allah, let it happen the way it happened. And always think good in it. If there's an accident, inshallah there's good in it. I don't know. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. But there's good in every single thing. It's just that we don't understand. It is mentioned. فَإِنَّ قَضَاءَ اللَّهِ تَعَالَى Imam Qurtubi rahmatullahi alayhi says, لِلْمُؤْمِنِ فِي مَا يَكْرَهُ خَيْرٌ. Many times, the decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for a believer, فِي مَا يَكْرَهُ, in those things which he doesn't like, it is what? خَيْرٌ لَهُ, it is better for him. مِنْ قَضَائِهِ لَهُ فِي مَا يُحِبُّ, as opposed to those things which he likes. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in the Quran, عَسَىٰ أَن تَكْرَهُوا شَيْئًا وَهُوَ خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ وَعَسَىٰ أَن تُحِبُّوا شَيْئًا وَهُوَ شَرٌّ لَكُمْ. Perhaps there will be things, أَن تَكْرَهُوا شَيْئًا, which you will dislike. You don't like it, but there is good in it for you. And there will be things which you like, but there is no good in it for you. Who knows this? We don't know. But the beauty is, we have Allah with us. We put our trust in Allah. And we let it happen the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants it to happen. And we find many, many stories of Sahaba and the story of Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam which inspire us. And this is also one of the stories. Further on, carrying on, the third person. The third incident. What was the third incident? Putting up the wall. Fixing up the wall. So that incident, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in the Quran, وَأَمَّا الْجِدَارُ فَكَانَ لِغُلَامَيْنِ يَتِيمَيْنِ فِي الْمَدِينَةِ وَكَانَ تَحْتَهُ كَنْزٌ لَهُمَا وَكَانَ أَبُوهُمَا صَالِحًا فأراد ربك أن يبلغا أشدهما ويستخرجا كنزهما رحمة من ربك وما فعلته عن أمري ذلك تأويل ما لم تستطع عليه صبرا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions, or Khider alayhi salatu wasalam is explaining to Moosa alayhi salatu wasalam, the third story? where there was no hospitality, and despite that, Khider decided to do a favor to the community. You know, there was a reason behind it. What was the reason behind it? You know that wall which was leaning and about to fall down? That wall belonged to 2 orphans. نيتيمين. It belonged to 2 orphans. وَكَانَ تَحْتَهُ كَنْزٌ لَهُمَا. And beneath the wall was a treasure full of gold and silver. There were so many things inside it, which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had kept for them. وَكَانَ أَبُوهُمَا صَالِحًا. Now, if Khider did not make that straight, there was a fear that the community will come, because if the wall collapsed, what's going to happen? It's going to expose, and people will find out. You know, people didn't have safes like the safes that we have. You know, you go to the bank and you have a nice safe. You can have, those days, I'm sure you know. And that is why, people used to, hit a lottery by, digging gold out, taking so much treasure out. This still happens in some areas. So back in the days, what they used to do is they used to bury the treasure in the land. And that's how they used to keep it secure. No one would know. And many times, they themselves will forget. It's like forgetting your password. You know what happens when you forget your password? I mean, sometimes you can even manipulate, your mother's maiden name and this name and that name, you can get your password back. But when you lose that area where you had put your treasure, I don't know what password you can use. I think the only password you can use is just watch Allah. That's the only password. Some angels come down, and you know what? Upon this, a story comes to my mind. Imam Hanifa, a person comes to him, and he says that, I've lost something buried in some of my land, and I don't know where it is. I just can't find it. I lost my treasure. So help me. How do I find it? So Imam Hanifa says, simple, build your connection with Allah, pray salat. Because, praying salat, because pray salat. Because I did that so much. Pray salat. Go pray salat. Allah will help you. Now, the moment Imam Hanifa knew that when you pray salat, especially as when we're praying salat, where you leaves games, basketball, rafters, whatnot, different things come to your mind, right? Especially when those brothers, I highly recommend that never ever wear a shirt which has writing on it, because this distracts a person. The moment you have Leaf's shirt on your back, the person's like, that player, whatnot, and he's got his whole film going on. He doesn't even know what salat, what ruku, nothing, until he says Assalamu alaikum. And he says salam, he's looking there, who's here, who's not here? Salam, who's here, who's not here? That's the reality for salat. Nevertheless, so when he started praying salat, immediately shaitan came. Because shaitan comes back when you're praying salat. So immediately shaitan came, and shaitan didn't want him to pray salat. So shaitan comes and tells him, you know what? The treasure is buried under that tree. As soon as he remembered, he could not even finish the salat, and he ran away and got his treasure. So, anyway, he knew that's what he's going to do. So this is what happens. The shaitan comes back and reminds you. So, and I'm sure it must have happened like that. When you don't remember, and you only remember when you're praying salat. That's the only time you remember. The shaitan comes back. Shaitan flees when he hears the adhan, but it comes back and he's with you while you're praying salat. That is why we need to give extra fight with shaitan and do mujahada to make sure that he doesn't overtake us. Nevertheless, so there was a treasure buried, and had that wall not been fixed, then these poor orphans, their treasure would have been lost. People would have taken it, and they would not have access to it. And the reason why, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in the Quran, the reason why, again, a very big lesson for our parents. وَكَانَ أَبُوهُمَا صَالِحًا. Their parents or their father was a righteous person. He was a solid person. He was a good person. So because of that, because of his piety, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted to preserve. What did He want to preserve? And protect what? The treasure. For who? His children. Why? وَكَانَ أَبُوهُمَا صَالِحًا. These are the words of the Quran. فَأَرَادَ رَبُّكَ. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala intended. فَأَرَادَ رَبُّكَ. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala intended that the children will grow up, and when they grow up, they will be able to take benefit from that treasure. That is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did this. It was in the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that knowledge was given to Khider, and that knowledge was not given to anyone else. Now, let's try taking some lessons from these things here. Oh yes, by the way, there's one very important part of the story. In that treasure, there was one thing that Imam Mufti mentions, that there was a loaf. There was a loaf, what do you call it? There was like a plate on it was inscribed some beautiful words of wisdom that Imam Mufti in Tafsir he mentions. He says, or Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu narrates this, and he mentions the first thing was Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. That was written on that. There was a couple of things written on it. The first thing was Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. The second thing was Ajibtu liman yu'minu bil qadri kayfa yahzan. You know, how surprising is it for a person who has faith in the fate, who believes in the decree of Allah, who believes in taqdeer, but despite that he is disappointed. It's not in your control. You know how much you're going to earn, how much you're not going to earn, it's not in your control. You will use a strategy to get that, but it's not in your control what you're going to lose. If Allah has destined that you will lose something, you will lose. You know, I have another story that comes, subhanAllah, many stories are coming to mind today, and maybe of your barakah. You know, with brother, he told us a very, very interesting story in Mina, when we were in the tent camp. He says that when he was in Qatar, a brother, he was in Qatar, and he was responsible for one of the companies, and he was hiring people. So, a brother came from South Africa, and that brother said, well, he was looking for a job in Qatar, and to work in Qatar. So this brother who was talking to me tells me that I asked him a few questions, and I said that, why do you want to come all the way from South Africa and work here? So he gave a few reasons, and one of the reasons was that South Africa is not safe. And I'm sure the brothers that have been to South Africa, or they know what South Africa is all about, they will know, what the condition is in South Africa. The moment you go outside, someone's ready to shoot you, you stop at a traffic light, someone can just break the glass and get in, whatnot. There's different things happening there. Obviously, the crime is very, very high in South Africa. I heard the same thing about Pakistan in some places too. Nevertheless, so he was just fed up because it's like prison, and you're in a dungeon. Your house is literally a dungeon. One family actually got burnt. One family, this just a couple of months ago, so many stories are coming to mind now. So one family actually, that place is like a dungeon, locks after locks, gates after gates. One family was not able to escape in time, and there was a fire. And as a result, all 4 people died. They got burnt alive. Nevertheless, this happened last year. So this brother here, who's telling me the story, he says, so I asked him, I said, why do you want to come here and work? He says that, I just want to escape, there's no guarantee when you're going to die. You can get shot in the head anytime, and the robbers will come and take your money away. There's no guarantee. So I'm just fed up with South Africa, I want to move from that place, and I want to come and work here. So the brother who's narrating the story to me, he said that I have sympathy for this brother here. So I hired him. So this brother here, he goes back to South Africa. When he goes to South Africa, guess what happens? That same fear which he wanted to escape got him, and he was shot and dead. The same fear. He wanted to escape that, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes him back to the same place, and same thing happens, and he dies. He just went to get his family, and he was accepted in what? In Qatar. This is the brother telling me, narrating the story. So my brothers, Ajibtu liman yu'minu bil qada'i wa yahsan. And it's how surprising is it that you believe in the taqdeer of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but at the very same time you're depressed? We believers, we believe in Allah. We believe in the taqdeer of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How can you be depressed? Whatever happens, happens. If someone dies, someone dies. If someone marriage takes place, alhamdulillah, divorced, whatever happens, happens. Obviously, we don't become the means of creating something stupid and something which is not permissible. But if something happens, taqdeer of Allah. That's how it is. So the third thing that was written on that in a law was Ajibtu liman yu'minu bil-rizqi kayfa yat'am. I'm surprised with that person, Ajibtu liman yu'minu, who believes that the sustenance comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But despite that, he tires himself. It's up to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You can work for 2 hours and Allah can give you as much as He wants. And you can work for 18 hours and then to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will only give you 2 hours work. It's the system of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we see that happening in the world. So it's so surprising. Okay, this does not justify that you don't use a strategy and you don't work all together. But the fact is don't unnecessarily tire yourself by working 2 jobs and 3 jobs. My brothers, stories after stories come to my mind. Do you know what happens? I can tell you right now as I'm sitting here, 3 to 4 stories that come to my mind. Incidents, people ask me questions. People were working 3 jobs, 2 jobs, 3 jobs. And as a result of that, their children went completely astray. Completely lost. No connection with the parents at all. There was another story, father's working so hard and the wife is having a relationship with someone else. And as a result, she left. She ended up leaving. So, I can just open up stories after stories. There's another story. A brother comes to Canada. Sometimes I don't want to become so explicit. But a brother comes looking for a job, leaving his family behind there. And then after they all come here, and she already had a relationship with someone. As a result of that, you can tell that, 4 children are Indian and 1 child is white. So this is exactly what's happening, my brothers. We are unnecessarily tiring ourselves. We need to have faith in Allah. You adopt a strategy, we work hard, but we don't need to work so hard that we end up compromising with our family values. We end up compromising on our family values. You will never get your children back once you lose them. You will never get back your wife once you lose her. My brothers, we need to be understanding towards this too. Are we really gaining or are we losing? This is something we need to think about. SubhanAllah, I hope I can finish this point here. أَجِبْتُ لِمَنْ يُؤْمِنُ بِالْمَوْتِ كَيْفَ يَفْرَحُ. I'm surprised with the person who has faith that he will die. بِالْمَوْتِ كَيْفَ يَفْرَحُ. But at the very same time, he's so happy. He's so happy as if he's never going to die. Sometimes, I read the ayah today. وَإِذَا أَرَدْنَا أَن نُهْلِكَ قَرْيَةً أَمَرْنَا مُتْرَ فِيهَا فَفَسَقُوا فِيهَا فَحَقَّ عَلَيْهَا الْقَوْلُ فَدَمَّرْنَاهَا تَدْمِيرًا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions, when we intend to destroy a nation, we tell the rich people to what? Straighten themselves. But you know what? They're too filthy, they're too rich, they're too spoiled to come back. أَمَرْنَا مُتْرَ فِيهَا, but they transgress even more. فَفَسَقُوا فِيهَا فَحَقَّ عَلَيْهَا الْقَوْلُ. And then comes the al-'adl of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it is certain, and it cannot be destroyed. And obviously they're completely ruined, and they're doomed forever and ever. Nevertheless, so if you believe, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what is the most certain thing? Death. That is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions, حَتَّى يَأْتِيَكَ الْيَقِينَ. What does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say? حَتَّى يَأْتِيَكَ الْيَقِينَ. وَاعْبُدْ رَبَّكَ حَتَّى يَأْتِيَكَ الْيَقِينَ. You worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala until when? Until the death comes to you. But does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala حَتَّى يَأْتِيَ الْمَوْتُ? لا. What does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say? حَتَّى يَأْتِيَكَ الْيَقِينَ. Until the death comes to you. Yaqeen comes to you. And yaqeen is what? The most certain thing is death. You know that. But despite that, you're just transgressing and not even realizing what the reality is. عَجِبْتُ لِمَنْ يُؤْمِنُ بِالْحِسَابِ كَيْفَ يَغْفَلُ. How surprising is that person who knows that he has to give accountability of everything that Allah has given him in this world. But despite that, يَغْفَلُ, he's completely unmindful, as if he's been given that green light or something like that, as if he'll never be taken to, he will never be audited. عَجِبْتُ, okay, this one here. عَجِبْتُ لِمَنْ يُؤْمِنُ بِالدُّنْيَا وَتُقَلِّبُهَا بِأَهْلِهَا كَيْفَ يَطْمَئَنُّ لَهَا. I'm surprised with that person. He believes that dunya, sometimes he has a dunya, sometimes he doesn't have dunya. Dunya keeps on flipping. You have it, you don't have it. But despite that, he's so content with it. Dunya, you will have it, you will not have it. What we need to have is our deen. And then, so these are the few things I will mention in this year. After that, it is mentioned, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in this story here, what was the reason Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned? وَكَانَ أَبُوهُمَا صَالِحًا. A big lesson. That because the father was pious and righteous, as a result of that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protected who? His progeny. It is mentioned, Muhammad ibn Munkadir used to say, through the piety of one person, Allah ta'ala looks after his children and grandchildren and his family, neighbors in the community. We don't realize that. We don't realize the system of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But through one person's piety, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is running the system of the whole country, of the whole city, the whole place here. We don't realize that. It is mentioned, Imam Qurtubi rahmatullahi mentions this in his tafsir. Shibli rahmatullahi used to say that I am a protection and safety and aman for you. He used to say that to his people, that I am safety and I am a aman and protection for you people. And exactly this what happened. The moment he died, the tyrant rulers, they overtook that area, that land, and they were oppressed. So many times we don't look at it. It is because of the piety of someone which is running the system, but we don't know that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pleased with them, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keeps the system running, but we don't realize that. We only look at ourselves, we don't look at others. That is why when we see pious people, we should respect them, we should honor them, and help them out as much as we can. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in the Quran, Inna waliyallahu alladhi nazzala kitabahu wa yatawalla salihin. What does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mention in the Quran? My friend, Inna waliyallah, Inna waliyyi, my guardian is who? Allah. Who is Allah? Alladhi nazzala al-kitab, who revealed the kitab. Wa huwa alladhi yatawalla salihin. He is the one who will protect. Who? The salihin, the righteous people. So my brothers, a lesson for our parents. What is the lesson? I ask you, including me being a father, every one of us, we're always concerned that, you know what, I may have to go through difficulty and hardship, but I want to make sure that my children, they have the best of life in this world. I want to make sure my children don't go through the struggle I went through. I came from India, Pakistan, I went through so much struggle, but I want to make sure that my children have peace of mind. That's what we think. We invest our money in RSP. I'm not saying don't invest your money in that. Obviously, there's conditions for that. We make all kinds of investments. We do all kinds of different things. But do we ever realize that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala clearly mentions that if you want security for your children, if you want good for your children, then become pious. Turn to Allah. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Inna waliyyi Allah. Alladhi nazzala al-kitab wa huwa yatawalla as-salihin. Who looks after it. Who are the righteous people? وَكَانَ أَبُوهُمَا صَالِحًا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes it very clear. So my brothers, all those people that are working so hard for our children, many times the parents are working so hard for their children, yet the children never stayed with the parents at all. And many times I've seen parents never did anything for their children. I'm not saying don't do anything, but parents didn't take it so seriously for their children and worked so hard, saving, making investment. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave the children what others didn't get. It's a system of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what we need to do is every one of us, if we want to secure the fate of our children, what do? وَكَانَ أَبُوهُمَا صَالِحًا. We need to become pious. We need to become righteous. Then we can see how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can protect us, our progeny, our grandchildren, etc. This is the story. From this story, a very important, unique lesson. And this lesson will tell us, especially the people that understand Arabic language, they will appreciate this so much. Our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, killing someone is bad, isn't it? Wedding taking place, that's good. Someone getting a gift is a good thing. Someone getting a beautiful car, beautiful wife, good thing, alhamdulillah. But on the flip side, someone dying is a bad thing. Some calamities coming, someone losing something is a bad thing. This is good and bad. This is the system of Allah. Our perspective, this is good and this is bad. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's perspective, it's a whole system that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has laid out. That this will happen, this will happen. All good and bad is in the system of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But despite that, there's a very important lesson that I want you to pay attention to. If you look at the story here, in the first place, in the first ayat, what did Khider alayhi salatu wasalam say? فَأَرَدْتُ أَنْ أَعِيبَهَا. What did he say? I intended to defect the shirk. And the second place, what did he say? فَأَرَدْنَا what is that? فَأَرَدْنَا أَنْ يُبْدِلَ لَهُمَا رَبُّهُمَا. فَأَرَدْنَا. And in the third place, what did he say? فَأَرَادَ رَبُّكَ. Just to understand this here, I want you to give another explanation. Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, when he is introducing who his Lord is, what does he say? الَّذِي يُطْعِمُنِي وَيَسْقِي وَإِذَا مَرِضْتُ فَهُوَ يَشْفِي. Look at this lesson. We attribute the good things to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But the things that we feel bad, we don't attribute that to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what is it? Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, when he's introducing his Lord to Allah, what is he saying? Getting food is a good thing, right? Getting drink is a good thing, right? But being sick, is that a good thing? No. So Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam saying, يُطْعِمُنِي وَيَسْقِينِ. My Lord is He who gives me food and drink. But for sickness, what does He say? وَإِذَا مَرِضْتُ When I become sick, يَشْفِينِ He gives me cure. Allah subhanahu Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam is not saying, what is He not saying? And when He gives me sickness, He gives me cure. Did He say that? No. What did He say? For food and drink, He said, Allah gives me that. And for sickness, what did He say? إِذَا مَرِضْتُ When I become sick, Allah gives me cure. He could have said what? What would He have said? When Allah makes me sick, He gives me cure. But Ibrahim ﷺ did not say that. My brothers, there's a very important lesson. Exactly the same attitude and same notion and same respect is being held by who? Khider alayhi salatu wasalam. What is Khider alayhi salatu wasalam saying? In the first ayat, defecting, breaking someone's ship. Is there any good in it? No good in it. So what did he say? فَأَرَدْتُ أَنْ أَعِيبَهَا I intended to make it defected. And in second place, in the second ayat, when the child was killed, two things happened. One good thing and one bad thing. What was the bad thing? Killing of the child. And what was the good thing? Replacing the child with a better one. Isn't that? And يُبْدِلَهُمَ رَبُّهُمَا So both of them are mushtarak, both of them are together. So for this, Khider alayhi salatu wasalam uses فَأَرَدْنَا We intended. So in that we, the bad thing is referred to Khider, and the good thing, meaning changing, replacing, is referred to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Obviously, ultimately, it's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doing. But look at the respect. And in the third case, placing the wall back, is there anything bad in it? Is there anything bad in it? So what was in the ayat? فَأَرَادَ رَبُّكَ أَن يَبْلُغَا أَشُدَّهُمَا What does it say? فَأَرَادَ رَبُّكَ He does not attribute, the Khider does not attribute himself at all. What did he say? Your Lord intended. Because there's only good in it. My brothers, this is our attitude. Even though something bad happens, we don't make that nisbah towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We learned that in the Quran also. بِيَدِكَ الْخَيْرِ إِنَّكَ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرٍ Okay, if you look at what's the translation? In his hands there is good. That's the translation. But in His hand there's only good? Or there's bad too? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala controls the system. All good and bad is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But despite that, we learn from that, we don't say بِيَدِكَ الْخَيْرُ وَالشَّرُّ But do we say بِيَدِكَ الْخَيْرُ In His hand lies all goodness. إِنَّكَ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرٍ Indeed, you are the most capable. You're capable of every single thing. So my brothers, we learn from this, that whenever we experience anything bad, we don't attribute to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We attribute that to our nafs. We attribute that to our shaitan and nafs. And the good things, we attribute that to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is such an important usul that we learn from the conversation of Khider alayhi salatu wasalam. Obviously, briefly, the time is coming up. Obviously, I want to end this talk here. Now, obviously, the question comes, it's a very important lesson here before I conclude, and that is, a lot of people, or there will be a group of people. Imam Qurtubi rahmatullahi alayhi, he refutes, and he highly refutes a group of people. The Sufis. The Sufis, who are ignorant Sufis. They use this incident of Khider for their purpose. And what do they say? They say that just like Khider, he had special knowledge from Allah, and Moosa alayhi salatu wasalam didn't know what knowledge he had. That's why Moosa's knowledge was different, his knowledge was different, and which gives the green light and license for the Shaykh. I'm talking about the false Shaykhs and those so-called, peers and they call themselves to be the mentors and whatnot. I'm talking about those type of people. They can do anything against Shariah, and you have to respect that. If he doesn't pray salat, you respect that. If the person does zina, you respect that. Anything evil he does, you respect that. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. We don't respect that at all. No one is above board. No one is above Shariah. No wali, whoever claims to be a wali and a friend of Allah, can never ever be above board, can never be above Shariah. He has to be binding with Shariah. He can never be above board. This is decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And obviously if anyone claims anything, haram thing, you get some people, they don't pray salat, and when you ask them, where you pray salat? I pray salat in Makkah. I'm praying salat in Haram. What is this nonsense here? But that's what he believes in. That is absolute nonsense. So many things have happened like that. Women, unfortunately, I can't understand how our women can be fooled. Many cases you find in, Ajmer and Pakistan, in these places, you find that women, they're not having children. And they go to the Pir Sahib. And the Pir Sahib is, putting a child for them. SubhanAllah, he's making mazar. He's having fun. And, I say a blessed, fluid will, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned, that we created you with, filthy fluid. Min ma'in mahin. Did we not create with filthy fluid? Now this person all of a sudden is a blessed person, he's putting that fluid into you. SubhanAllah. And it becomes this is completely nonsense. No one is above Qur'an. No one is above Sharia. Everyone is binding with Sharia. Everyone has to be within the parameters of Sharia. No one can be above that. Nevertheless, so this is something that is very important we need to keep in mind. Obviously, this brings us to a question. Was Khider a prophet or not? Was Khider alayhi salatu wasalam a prophet or not? Most of the scholars, they feel that he was a prophet. He was a prophet. Why is he a prophet? One of the simple reasons is, many things that he was doing was not in conformity to the Sharia of Moosa alayhi salatu wasalam. But despite that, he did that. If it was a wali, if he was a friend, he would have never been able to do that. He has to follow the Sharia of Moosa, who was a prophet, who was a Rasul. But for Khider to do something against, even though a wali can be inspired, but despite that, he can't go against the Sharia. So if he was a wali, he would not be able to do what he did. Only a prophet, through the wahi and the revelation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he can do something different. And that is why the scholars, they mention that he was a prophet because he was given that divine guidance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He was inspired. So nobody can say that I have been inspired and I had a vision today and I will be doing this. No. Everything is within the Sharia. Someone wakes up in the morning and says, I know what, I'm the prophet. No, it's not accepted. People are doing that. People did that in the past and people still do that. They claim things like that. But it is not accepted. Even if it's a wali, he cannot say things like that. He cannot be above Sharia. But if he's a prophet, yes, it's different. So for this scholars, they mention he was a prophet. And also it is mentioned, what does he say? What did he say? Khider alayhi salatu wasalam makes it very clear. He attributes everything to who? He says, وَمَا فَعَلْتُهُ عَنْ أَمْرِي. I did not do, oh Moosa, listen to this very carefully. I did not do what I did on my own. وَمَا فَعَلْتُهُ عَنْ أَمْرِي. I just didn't do it because I felt like doing it. I did because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told me to. And Allah had given me the wahi, inspiration. That is why I did this here. So most of the scholars, Jumhur, they feel that the Khider alayhi salatu wasalam was a prophet and not just a friend of Allah, but was also a prophet. Another question that I want, and this is the final question, inshallah, we'll end the talk today. Is Khider alayhi salatu wasalam alive or not? A lot of people ask this question. You get so many different narrations. You get one narration which shows, there are some narrations, let me mention one or two narrations, which supports the fact or belief that Khider is alive, and he's still alive today. For example, when Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, there's a narration in Mustadrak Hakim, there's a narration that when Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam left this world, a person came, a foreign person, a strange person came, and he delivered some words and he addressed the Sahabas. Sahabas were surprised. And as soon as he left, Abu Bakr and Ali radiallahu anhu said that this person was Khider. So from this narration, they thought, people say that, look, he's still alive, or Moosa is still alive, so therefore he's still alive, and he's still alive. There are other narrations too. One narration which is Sahih Muslim. In Sahih Muslim, there's a narration that when Dajjal comes, and his fitna will be widespread, when he comes to Medina, when he makes attempts to come to Medina Munawwara, he will not be able to. When he tries coming there, what's going to happen is that a man, a righteous person, a person whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed, that person will be, will come in between, and the Dajjal will not be able to come any further into Medina Munawwara. So Abu Ishaq, he says that person is Khider. So there are other narrations like this. I'm only mentioning two narrations, but there are other narrations which indicate that he's still alive. And then you get some other narrations which shows that no, he also passed away. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned, one time just before he left, he made one narration. He said one statement. He said that from now until 100 years, Whoever is living now won't be living anymore. So based on this, the scholars they say, this is a Sahih narration, that no one should be living, including Khider alayhi salatu wasalam. But then also, the people who believe that he's still alive, they say, look, Isa alayhi salatu wasalam, we don't say that he has left the world. He died, he's still alive. Likewise, he can also be living. So this question can be debatable. Allah Ta'ala didn't make it clear. Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam did not make it clear whether Khider alayhi salatu wasalam died or he did not die. Bahrul Muhit, in a Sahib al-Muhit, he mentions, according to his opinion, Tafsir Muhit, it is his opinion that Jumhur, most of the scholars feel that Khider alayhi salatu wasalam did pass away and left the world. Nevertheless, people will argue on either side. Obviously, arguments can come from this side and that side, but the fact remains that our iman is not based on Khider being alive or not. On the Day of Judgment, we don't need to get in this argument. Allah will not question you, tell me, is Khider alive or not? Allah will question you, who is your Lord? Allah will question you, ma dinuka, what is your religion? Allah will question you, who is your Prophet? These are the questions that will be asked. What is your a'mal? What are the good deeds that you brought? These are the questions that will be asked. Not about Khider alayhi salatu wasalam. I said we don't need to go into this argument. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us understanding which time has been taken. But there's so many lessons that we can take from this. Obviously the next story, inshallah, next week, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned the Quran immediately after the story. وَيَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنْ ذِي الْقَرْنَيْنِ. They ask you, O Prophet of Allah, who Dhul Qarnayn is. That'll leave it for next week, inshallah. اللهم لك الحمد كله ولك الشكر كله واليك يرجع الامر كله اللهم لا نحصي ثناء عليك انت كما اثنيت على نفسك. Oh Allah, pardon our sins. Allah, forgive our sins. Ya Allah, accept this blessed assembly. Ya Allah, any shortcomings that came to this assembly, Ya Allah, forgive us. Ya Allah, many youngsters came from far and wide. Ya Allah, accept their coming here. Ya Allah, we are all in need of guidance. Ya Allah, many youngsters are going through tests. Ya Allah, make it easy for them. Ya Allah, many youngsters are going through exams. Make it easy for them. Any challenges and difficulties, Ya Allah, we are experiencing, Ya Allah, make it easy for every one of us. Ya Allah, enable us, allow us to have firm faith, Ya Allah, in you. Ya Allah, allow us and enable us to have firm faith in your decree and your taqdeer. Ya Allah, whether we understand or we don't understand, let us be able to have faith, Ya Allah, faith in your qada and your decree. Ya Allah, don't make us amongst those, Ya Allah, who question, Ya Allah, your decree and your qada. Ya Allah, let us not be put to test before our death. Ya Allah, bless every one of us with a good end. Ya Allah, many brothers and sisters are looking for a suitable partner. Ya Allah, make it easy for them. Ya Allah, across the continent, many brothers are going through difficult. Many brothers and sisters are going through difficulty and hardship. Ya Allah, make it easy for them. Ya Allah, make it easy for every one of us. Allah, accept our dua, accept our dua. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun ala al-mursalin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.